Welcome to Data Magic, Project Unicorn's official podcast. I'm Tisha Peters, and in each episode, we'll explore how better data can unlock smart decisions, stronger systems, and create real impact for students. Project Unicorn is a national initiative dedicated to radically improving data interoperability, which is the safe and secure flow of education data across systems to support student learning. We talk with leaders, practitioners, and partners who are making data usable, connected, and meaningful for the people who need it most. Because when data flows, educators don't just see more, they can do more. And that's where the magic happens. All right, welcome Data Magic, episode 10. We're so excited, listeners, for you to be here to join us as we are joined with Erin Mote, CEO of InnovateEDU, as she reflects on a decade of leading Project Unicorn and advocating for data interoperability in education. Today, we're going to learn about the major accomplishments, biggest lessons learned, and the roadmap for the next 10 years. So welcome, Erin. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm sending virtual cupcakes to everybody who's listening, celebrating 10 years. Go ahead, go get a bowl of ice cream, a cupcake in real life, indulge in a little sugar as we celebrate Project Unicorn's 10th birthday.
That's right. Happy
Yeah.
anniversary.
Right, right.
So, Erin, tell us about the creation of Project Unicorn. What inspired it? How did this project get started?
Yeah. So I used to run a charter school in downtown Brooklyn called Brooklyn Lab Charter School. I founded that charter school in 2013, 2014. And one of the core pieces of the work that we did at Brooklyn Lab was actually build and design our own personalized learning platform. Another episode, another day. I'm an enterprise architect by training, but we were really struggling in building this platform that we were hosting and was really built actually as an API native platform to get the information we needed for our students. And so simultaneously, Innovate EDU started along with a couple other school leaders and with the support of Charter School Growth Fund, a confab that actually still exists today called the Data Wiz community. It's the frankly smartest people in education data who are actually doing the work in the field, coming together to learn from each other and to work on practical problems that are kind of might be hindering solving real world applications. And in our first convening is actually how Project Unicorn was conceived. We were deciding in that convening that we were going to map all the ed tech tools that each of us was using.
Oh, wow.
And so we built this spreadsheet and think of it as like a hackathon, with everybody sitting around a open square table. I can still see it in downtown Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And, there were folks who were running single school networks like me at one site, 300 students, small schools to huge charter school networks. At the time, it was only charter schools. Now, DataWiz is public district schools and charter schools. But we were sort of mapping what applications we were using. And then we were mapping how we were getting the data in and out of those systems. And sometimes it was like, baling wire and bubble gum. Sometimes it was hand coding. Sometimes it was like PDF conversion to a spreadsheet. Sometimes it was like an email. I mean, like
Yeah.
2014. Sometimes it was an API access. And then the next column was actually the thing that started Project Unicorn, which was what is the cost of doing this? And I will never forget it. I was sitting side by side with someone and I was watching a row get populated, and folks were just adding a row below the tool that had already been named. I'm not going to tell you the name of the tool, but there was a small charter network, one single school who was using this tool, cost zero to get their data out via an API. Next row, large charter school network, cost six figures to get their data
What?
out. They were paying six figures for API access. And
Wow.
six figures is like two teachers, like it's two humans. And they were like, data access was so important. Standardized data access was so important to them that they were willing to give up two humans in order to be able to get this data out. And in that moment, I, along with a couple others, were like, we got to tackle this. We're going to keep doing this work in DataWiz, but we need to put together a national initiative focused on data interoperability. We had amazing support from the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. Michael Dell himself was very focused in the early days on this work. How do we create this church of interoperability? And actually, the original name of Project Unicorn that like was proposed to me was Project Groundswell. And I was like, no, it's going to be Project Unicorn because we need something that's not intimidating, that's kind
Yeah.
of fun, about something that a lot of people find really, really scary, which is the concept of data interoperability. And our whole goal in that first year, Tisha, was just to see how many people I could get to say data interoperability in keynote addresses. And this was this like core metric of like, can we
Incredible.
make this word, these two words, like comfortable in the education space? And like check, we did that. And then we had some like fortuitous marketing. Starbucks released the unicorn frappuccino right around the time that we were launching Project Unicorn, so we had a
Oh,
signature
perfect.
drink, signature everything. But Project Groundswell was a big no. Project Unicorn was launched and born actually at ASU GSB like 10 years ago.
That's incredible. And now, it still takes a minute for people to say data interoperability.
But we got
I
the first
can't
lady to say it, so that was good with a little bit of coaching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people now relate to it. They can understand what it means and understand the pain that it takes to get data from one place to another. What changes have you seen over the past 10 years in educational data interoperability?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that you just named is really important, like naming the problem. I think everybody acknowledges that this is a historic challenge for us in this sector, and it's actually impeding student and educator outcomes right now.
Yeah.
So, like, in 10 years, we've been able to name the problem, and I think we've been able to articulate what the problem is. I think the other big shift is, when we first started Project Unicorn, I think there was a lot of, is it data privacy, cybersecurity, or interoperability? And I think within the sector now, we acknowledge that that's three legs of one stool, that you can't have one without the other. And increasingly, those three legs of the stool, data interoperability, cybersecurity, and data privacy, are just table stakes for working in the education technology ecosystem. And frankly, the technology has evolved a ton. I think there have been a lot of really good improvements on everything from pets, privacy enhancing technologies, to places where APIs aren't like a strange thing. And we haven't come far enough. So I am radically dissatisfied with where we are in 10 years of progress. And I think there's so much more work to do, particularly in the age of AI. I'm incredibly worried about people building on non aligned, non standard aligned, non secure data infrastructures, or just a lack of data infrastructure. And then they put AI on top of it. And really, it's just going to be garbage in, garbage out. And so this is the time more than ever that interoperability must be a priority.
Absolutely. So, what's your vision for that transformational education data?
Yeah, so I'm not sure we have to make the case anymore on why data interoperability is important. I think we always are going to need to be educating. It's one of the reasons I love the emerging leaders work that we do at Project Unicorn, because as new people are coming into the field, getting them up to speed better, faster, in networked with peers across the ecosystem is really important. I think some of the work that Project Unicorn is doing now to help people understand the advancements in AI and data interoperability, putting out some of the resources that we've put out that bring together 10 years of technical assistance and knowledge with uni. It's a beautiful research corpus. It's a beautiful knowledge corpus we've built over 10 years, case studies, standard guides. Like, there's so much richness in the Project Unicorn resource library. I love uni because it makes it accessible, digestible, and usable. And it is really like talking to somebody who can give you advice, something, Tisha, you and I do every day with school districts and vendors. And it's sort of just like an extension of that deep technical assistance. That's the hallmark of Project Unicorn. And I do think there's a lot of places where as interoperability moves over the next 10 years, we're going to have to continuously be focused on the learner. So as pathways develop, that might be post-secondary, but might also be, different types of workforce pathways, the introduction of short-term Pell, which is a financial aid option that makes training more accessible in 8 to 12 week stints. And then you can sort of go off and have an industry credential. How do we think about architecting around learning experiences and a learning ecosystem rather than just the schooling experience or the schooling ecosystem? Because I do think that's what learners and employers and workers are going to demand as we're thinking about reskilling, retraining, and sort of this idea that nothing's linear, and that we're all going to need to really think, especially in the age of AI, about being lifelong learners. So a lot more work to do. And some of the bread and butter work of Unicorn has to continue, helping people understand that there's different standards for different purposes within the ecosystem, the technical assistance that again just underpins the ability of people to do the work, to build the capacity, knowledge, and expertise, to have those peer-to-peer structures. And then, the last thing is bringing clarity in the marketplace. I think that is really, really important. And so the work we're doing with Instructure on the 5 EdTech quality indicators, helping people understand the difference between consumer tech and EdTech, and why interoperability is a hallmark of good EdTech tools. And in fact, in the Instructure report, I know you and I were probably so delighted to see that Project Unicorn certification was leading the pack among those EdTech tools.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the transformation, the number of resources, the quality of the resources that, with Project Unicorn, with our amazing steering committee, with our incredible technical advisory committees, bringing those folks together and really looking at this problem and creating resources and tools and supports to be able to drive this forward has been a godsend, it seems. And we hope for the next 10 years to continue that work and help align those tools and resources again. What does the next 10 years look like? What does this next decade look like?
Well, I mean, I think we are, one of the things I would say is like a shift in Project Unicorn over the next 2 years, and I think it's going to continue, is us bringing our expertise around continuing to support the broader interoperability ecosystem, but really bringing our expertise on some very purpose-driven specific challenges within our ecosystem. There's 2 within Project Unicorn right now. There's going to be a third around learner employment records, but the 2 that I'll name right now, Everyday Counts, which just said, we're going to rally the sector around chronic absenteeism data so that schools aren't learning that a student is chronically absent when they turn chronically absent, but is getting some signals before. And we've done that with incredible partners like great schools, but also incredible partners like EdFi, who took their existing data standard and said, here's where it's meeting it, here's where it's not, and how do we expand it into a schema that folks can use and then come back and improve the standard over time. The other is moving with the mission. This is work we're doing with the Department of Defense and DoDEA, even through administration transitions, focused on continuing to address the systemic inequality of students with IEPs in the military, connected families. When they need those services, when their parents move, they are waiting on average 4.25 months to get the services on their IEPs. For me, this is, and I think for everyone who's touched this project, this is absolutely unacceptable. Not just for the student, but for the parent who might be deployed while and having to fight for services or trying to do IEP meetings on a Zoom when they're in Bahrain. It's just not fair, especially for folks who are so committed to serving this country. And so through partnerships with DoDEA, but also external partners like the Council for Exceptional Children, we're working really hard to develop a schema, to unify definitions across state boundaries, and then to really put in play the operational capacity to be able to support students with disabilities and military connected families. And it's a joyous thing to see something that we started in the Biden-Harris administration with champions like First Lady Joe Biden, make that transition over to the Trump administration through bipartisan support and continue to really think about how we support the operational readiness of families who ultimately make the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And those are the kids who we should be really thinking about at every moment. How are we serving them? How are we making sure that mom, dad are supported as they serve our country?
Well, thank you so much for lifting those projects up, the Everyday Counts work, the Moving with the Mission work. There's so many possibilities. There's already been great work done. And now on to the next steps to supporting those families, to supporting all kids.
All kids.
Through attendance, through IEPs, through all of those different supports. And really breaking down those data silos, that's what it's all about, so that we get to the learners, that the right information gets to the kids and the teachers and the schools so they can be supported in the way that they need to at the right time. Well, thank you for your conversation today, for sharing all of the background and the history of Project Unicorn. We are so excited to continue this work. And is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today?
Well, I just want to thank the extraordinary group of partners who have been part of Project Unicorn over the last 10 years. It is hundreds of school districts. It is hundreds of organizational and industry partners. It is folks who raise their hand when we say we need help. And I really, really want to thank the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. They have been our anchor funder for Project Unicorn for 10 years. And that type of extraordinary investment in systems level change and education is frankly unheard of. And so just massive gratitude to everyone at the foundation, past and present, but really especially to Michael Dell, to Susan Dell, for their just incredible investment in this work and this idea that a rising tide can indeed lift all boats.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for joining us today, Erin Mote, CEO of InnovateEDU. And we hope that you'll join us for our next episode of Project Unicorn for Data Magic. And if you have not joined our community, we invite you to go to projectunicorn.org and sign the school district pledge, sign the EdTech vendor pledge, and join our network. Start collecting and joining into these resources. Go on to Gemini and look up the Uni tool. It is a vast amount of resources that will support you with all those questions that Erin mentioned about data interoperability. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you, Erin.
Bye, everybody.